Hey, this is Tom Keifer, and you're rocking on the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Brutally Delicious!
Hey, you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast. I'm Bruce.
And I'm Christopher.
Jesus. Today we've got a fantastic one lined up for you. One of my favorite players and singers, Tom Keifer from Cinderella. Now he's been on his own doing his solo thing for a number of years, and I know you've been looking forward to this as well.
Oh, man, this guy changed my life. I saw the Heartbreak Station tour. I think I was in grade 10, maybe. I didn't have my license yet, so I was about 15. And at that point in time, I had never seen a band that good live, ever.
Right?
And they were so tight, it was insane. And not only that, they had all the 80s tricks, like swinging the guitars around their heads.
Oh, yeah.
And
the big hair and the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And Tom Keifer, he's bringing out grand pianos and lap steels, and he had all these guitar changes. It was just a monster show. And I felt bad for them at the time because that tour came through 3 weeks before Whitesnake came the next week, I think. Then Poison came the week after that. Then Motley Crue came the week after that. So Cinderella, and they had like a 18,000 seat venue. There's only about 5,000 people there.
Right. Everybody saved their money for the other ones.
Yeah. And Whitesnake I went to all of them, of course, but Whitesnake was empty too.
Really?
Yeah. But man, and Whitesnake played like it was empty, but Cinderella played like it was the most sold out show you've ever seen in your life. That's
the way to do it, right? We talk to a lot of people, and a lot of them always say that whether there's one person in the crowd or 500,000, the show's a show, and that one person paid their money to get in. So
yeah, who was it? Giannis that we talked to.
Yeah,
that said, I don't care. If you're a professional musician, you go out and you put on a show. That's your job,
right?
Yeah,
that is. But anyway, so the last Tom Keifer album, me and my son Colin, we loved it. We listened to it a lot. But this one, Rise, we got the advanced copy, and boy, hot damn, it's so raw and bluesy and rocky. And
I love it. When I put that song on, what's the name of that song now?
Death of Me is the one that's got me.
Which one?
You Won't Be the Death of Me?
Yeah, Death of Me. That's it. That is fucking crazy. The first time I hit play on that in the car when they sent us the music, I was like, is this Tom Keifer?
Right.
It sounded so modern. Like you expect these 80s guys to keep doing 80s stuff, but he's really not.
And it's got a way good groove to it. I mean, you can't help but move along with it. So it's really good stuff.
Oh, yeah. And you can hear that he's influenced by the blues still. But to me, it kind of seemed like he went back to the rock origins of where he came from, mixed it with the blues a little bit, and moved it to a new age. Like, that's the only way I can really describe it.
I think I like it a lot because it's not overproduced. It's really raw.
Yeah, it is raw. And that's something that you don't hear these days very much.
We'll have to ask him about it when we get him on the line.
Yeah, okay. This is a disclaimer. Portions of this program were pre-recorded.
That works just
fine. We had to record on the phone. So, because Tom wouldn't phone us on Skype.
Neither would Tom Maxwell. They both said no. So
yeah, so I guess they don't want putzes like us having their Skype handle. Hey, Tom, I just had a question.
Right.
You want to listen to my demo?
Right. We'll be bothering forever. Hey, you want to come to my kid's birthday party?
Yeah. Oh, you're coming to town? Can I get on the guest list?
For me and my cousins and my aunt who's been a fan since the 80s.
Yeah. So just if you're
At any rate, let's go ahead and get him on the line and see what he's got to say.
All right.
Hello. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, we've got Tom. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Tom, meet my partner, Chris.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Chris. How you doing today?
Thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate it.
Sure. So,
I just took a listen to the new record over the last few days, and I just got to congratulate you, man. That thing is pounding.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The video for Death of Me really kind of took me back. You know, the way you started out with like the record scratch, and you're talking about your vocal surgeries and going through that. I wasn't really expecting, like when the video starts, I wasn't expecting such a heavy song like that. To me, I think it's probably one of the best songs I've heard this year, easily.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. We were pretty happy with how that one came out. It has a simplicity to it, but the lyrics spoke to, I think, it needing kind of a dark, heavy riff and music. So Savannah actually wrote most of that lyric, and she handed it to me one day, and I just heard that dissonant, heavy riff starting to play because it felt like it went with the lyrics, and the next thing we knew, we had that song, and we felt like it was a good song for people to find strength in their adversity and be able to kind of be an anthem to overcome your challenges. So we came up with the idea of that intro to, by way of example, put some of my challenges on the screen on that television, because they've been, fairly well known through the years in the press, some of the things that I've gone through. And it felt really good to smash them, it really did. So like I said, mine are just by way of example. The fans are familiar with a lot of my challenges, but they've got their own too. So I encourage people to watch that video to envision their own challenges on that screen and just smash the hell out of them, because the power of visualization is really, really strong, and it really felt good that day to do that.
Right on.
I have to be honest with you. I didn't know that you were going through that stuff. And like about a month and a half, 2 months ago, on YouTube, this interview with you randomly came up where you were talking about going through all these vocal surgeries and doing all this stuff. And I was just like, holy man, anyone else would quit at this point. Where did you find that strength to just kind of keep going? Or is that just how you are? You just have to go no matter what?
I don't know. I've been asked that many times, and I just think it's because I've been playing guitar and singing since I was 8 years old. So when I was given that news, it was, in the early 90s, after having, success with Cinderella, and we were on our third album, and probably at the peak of our career at that point on Heartbreak Station, then on tour, and my voice just disappeared like overnight. And then I was given that news. Actually took 2 years for them to come to that diagnosis, because all the doctors I went to were looking for more common vocal cord ailments that are easily visual, that they can see visually on their scope, and they can laser off a note or that, and they didn't see any of that. So eventually a doctor ran a different kind of test, and it was a neurological one, and he said, you suffered a partially paralyzed vocal cord.
Wow.
And I said I'd never sing again. So I think it was just hard for me. The strength came from saying, am I going to give in to this and stop doing what I've done since I was 8 years old, or am I going to try and find a solution? So the solution that was offered to me was to work with speech. There's no medical cure for it, pill or surgery. So they said, if you have any chance or prayers, sing them the way you did before, or singing at all, even, you have to work with speech pathologists and work your way up to holding pitches, and then work with vocal coaches and try and retrain the vocal cord. So I've been doing that for like a long time, like years.
The start of that video made me realize that.
Yeah, there were a lot of years that I was less than my voice, and but I think I've what I've learned over the years I went to every coach I could go to and learned as much as I could. I have an exercise routine and therapy routine for my voice now that seems to make it work properly. So fingers crossed.
Hell yeah!
And the surgeries were all to repair collateral damage, because it's so difficult to sing with a paresis that you tear the cords up. So I've had to have them lasered back together. So,
but I'm assuming that everything is good and on par now, because the record sounds fantastic. Is that correct?
Oh, thank you. Thanks. We had a lot of fun making it. Made it with the new band that we've been touring together for 6 years since the release of The Way Life Goes. That band came together to be the touring band behind that record because I was made with session players. Savannah Like the Beast set with session players, and when it ended up turning out to be an actual record and got a record deal and it was released, we formed this band to tour behind that record, and we've just been on the road relentlessly for 6 years and have really become a band and grown our chemistry, and last year we decided it was time to make a record. So it was really, really fun to make the record with a band that, we've got so many shows under our belt that the chemistry was great.
Awesome. I know that last record was probably in my rotation daily for probably more than a year. I loved it, and I didn't think you would be able to top it. And this one definitely, I think, takes it in a newer direction, I think. Was that intentional?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, well, I think sonically we're definitely setting out to try and, have a fresh sound. To me, the rawer the sound is, it's fresh. So we went for a raw kind of live energy.
Right.
And I've always been a fan of trying to avoid the pitfalls of the studio, of making things too slick or overproduced, and we really, really shied away from that on this record. I've been doing that for a while, really starting with the Heartbreak Station record, because I think, processing of records and records being very wet and slick was a big thing in the 80s, and we certainly had a couple records early on that were that way, but I kind of like the rawness better.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's the approach we took. That's the approach we took on this record for sure. And much of it's live. We tried to capture live energy, and we set up in a very small studio, all in the same room. Put the headphones on, hit record, looked each other in the eye, and just went for it. And
nice.
That's so good. Even some of my vocals are from the tracking sessions.
Amazing.
Most of the rhythm section stuff, from the drums up through the guitars and the keyboards, a lot of that is live from the tracking sessions too. So that was our goal. I mean, we did some overdubs, but I would say this is the least amount of overdubs I've ever done on a record. So
that's awesome.
We really tried to preserve the performance. So.
In my notes when I was going through the record and kind of prepping for the interview, I wrote this down, and I think it kind of describes how I felt about the record. I say, you can hear the 80s influence, but it sounds nothing like the 80s. It sounds fresh and new. You could hear some young kids playing these tracks and be all over the radio, And that's kind of like when I listened to it, the first time I thought I had the wrong song on. To be honest with you. Because I wasn't ready for that style of production from you, personally, and because it was so big sounding, and the guitars were so dry and in your face, and yet so clean. It was really unbelievable.
Well, and then much of that sonic energy I credit to our Savannah and I co-produced this with our friend Kyle O'Connor, who is actually our front of house engineer that mixes us live.
Oh, cool!
And he is a incredible engineer, and live engineers don't always translate well into the studio, but he actually does.
Nice.
He works both worlds very well. So that was really advantageous to us because he witnesses the band every night from the front of house position, and he knows when we're clicking and when we're on, and he knows the energy where the energy level is capable of going. So he's more familiar with the band than anyone. So it was just. It really, really worked out well. He brought a lot to the production and the sound you're talking about. He's just really brilliant engineering. So,
like when I put it on, I just wasn't ready for that. Like the guitars are just so in your face. I was just it almost seems 3-dimensional, But
well, good. Dimension is good.
Yeah, another song that really stuck out to me quite a bit was "Waiting on the Demon." Just because of the way that vocal is, and it's like over-compressed in the way that your breath is louder than your voice, so it almost feels like you're whispering in the person's ear. And you do some really interesting kind of vocal things that, you see a lot of electronic music producers trying to achieve that style of vocal effects, but you're actually just singing it. And it
yeah, well, that's one of the songs that, honestly, that entire track, other than the lap steel solo, I overdubbed the lap steel solo. Everything else is live off that is a performance off the tracking floor, vocal, everything.
Yeah.
So, and it's and many of the songs are, but that one's like 100%. I mean, we just went for the vibe and vocals and everything, and
wow.
I couldn't play two instruments at once. I played the acoustic guitar when we were tracking, and then we later decided to overdub the we wanted to put the lap steel solo, and I did that. And I will say too that Tony's electric guitar, because he was playing acoustic when we tracked, that was overdubbed. So there's two overdubs on that, and Savannah and I sang that as we were tracking it, and that's a live performance.
That's awesome.
It's really crazy though, for someone that's gone through the vocal stress that you've gone through, and you're pulling off that type of vocal. Like you hear that, those, like, you're kind of going into falsetto and backing around all over the place there, and it almost sounds like it's an effect, but you know that it's not. It's really, really interesting. I've never heard anything like that before, so I just wanted to point
that one. Well, thank you. That one goes through pretty much every register of my voice, from the bottom to the top, and the middle, and kind of crosses the melody and key, kind of goes the whole gamut of my three different registers. So I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that is what I'm referring to. It's just the way that you go through the registers. It just sounds so unique, really. So I think it's just awesome.
What kind of touring plans do you have with this? I know you're doing shows here and there. Are you going to take this out on the road full time? And how does that affect your voice? Is there something you have to take time in between, or does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I definitely have a regimen that I have to be it's pretty strict. Everything from rest and hydration and diet, but the main thing is the warm-ups and the vocal exercises. I do about an hour before every show, and then a short cool down. There's a short cool down after the show. That's kind of a therapy thing that stretches out and calms the cords down. So that's very important. And that therapy and exercises speaks to more than just the vocal cords, because singing is really your whole body, particularly the core and the breathing. So those exercises get all that stuff opened up and warmed up, so you got full support. So that's crucial. And then obviously, because the shows are physically demanding and they're hot, that you just have to take care of yourself.
Right.
You got to hydrate. You got to rest. I mean, I have issues with dehydration because I have asthma. So I tend to sweat more because it's asthma and you get short of breath. So I've been hospitalized for dehydration more times than I can count.
Oh, wow.
So lots of Gatorade.
So the last thing I have, and I don't know what Chris has after this, but are you planning on doing a lengthy tour or hitting the road?
Well, we just did a 6-week leg to kind of kick off a few of those weeks for leading up to the release of the record, and we've got some more. We're home for a short break, and we're going out in October. I think we're going to take a short break over the holidays and maybe the early winter, but we're planning on a lot more touring next year behind the record. So we've already done 6-7 weeks already, and we've got some more coming up this year. So.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, but I want to thank you for keeping it up, because I've been a fan since the early 80s, and it's amazing to see you still doing it, putting out relevant, amazing records. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and thanks for still listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you changed my life. So I saw you guys in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, for the Heartbreak Station tour. I've never seen a band sound that good, and every band I've seen since, I always compare to that one show. So I would like to thank you for that, and also for keeping rock alive. I mean, this record, it's really one of the best things I've ever heard you do. So,
thank you.
I could ask questions all day, but I don't want to keep you all day. So I would like to say I appreciate your time, and thanks very much.
I want to thank you so much, Tom, and good luck with the record. Good luck with the tour, and thanks again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Be well.
Thanks, Tom. Have a good day, man.
You too.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.